Mexicas, or better known as Aztecs, dominated large parts of Mesoamerica from the 14th to 16th centuries. Sometimes the term Aztec also includes the inhabitants of Tenochtitlan's two principal allied city-states, the Acuas and the Teponaztli, who together with the Mesheekas formed the Aztec Triple Alliance that controlled what is known as the Aztec Empire. From the 13th century, the Valley of Mexico was the heart of Aztec civilization. Here, the capital of the Aztec Triple Alliance, the city of Tenochtitlan, was built upon raised islets in Lake Texcoco, surrounded by mountains and volcanoes. The Triple Alliance formed a tributary empire, expanding its political hegemony far beyond the Valley of Mexico, conquering other city-states throughout Mesoamerica. They were fierce warriors and experts in war tactics. Floral wars were institutionalized to create trained warriors that have enough sacrifices to keep the sun moving, as their mythology depicts. But nevertheless, they were highly developed in science and arts. Spanish conquistadors were blown away by the size of their lake city, bigger than London or Venetia. They called it the City of Palaces. The hygiene of the city was contrasting with the European. In each neighborhood, they constructed public bathrooms. All their fecal wastes were used as fertilizers for their crops. While at the time, London was drinking water from the polluted River Thames, the Aztecs supplied their city with clean water carried from the aqueducts of Chapultepec. Even the Spanish conquistador, Andres de Tapia, didn't understand why the Aztec emperor, Montezuma, took 2 baths per day. And to keep the water clean, the Aztecs used axolotls that ate detritus, keeping the water in perfect conditions to be used. Without a doubt, they were one of the biggest empires in the world, not just in territory, but in science, arts, salubrity, economy, education, and astronomy. To understand Aztec music, first of all, we can't know for sure how exactly was their music. Unfortunately, there is no written music, but we have a ton of Aztec instruments. So we know their scales as well as the purposes of music, which were depicted in codexes that documented how life was on the Aztec civilization. The Aztecs saw their instruments as magical objects with a soul, an animistic approach to them. When the gods died in Teotihuacan, the priests wandered aimlessly. Tezcatlipoca asked a devotee to go to the House of the Sun to obtain singers and musical instruments to honor him. The turtle, the whale, and the mermaid would make a bridge to wherever his devotee passed. He reached the House of the Sun, but the sun had warned his people and servants to ignore the chant given to the devotee by Tezcatlipoca, under the threat of being expelled to Earth. But Huehuetl and Teponaztli couldn't resist, and because they answered the call, they were expelled from the sun's house to Earth in the form of musical instruments to raise their chants to the sun's house. Since then, men have known music. This myth is found on Fray Juan de Torquemada's Monarquia, Indiana. The Teponaztli is a type of slit drum made of hollow hardwood logs with 2 slits on the top side, H-shaped, and played with rubber-headed wood mallets. These drums ranged in size from about 30 centimeters to 1.2 meters long. The tongues have different lengths and sometimes carved into different thicknesses, so they produce 2 different pitches, near a major third or perfect fourth apart. In addition to dances, teponaztlis were used to accompany poetry readings. The notations for the sounds of the drum beats, even at times appearing within the poetry itself. Each drum pattern is written using 4 syllables: to, ko, ti, ki. The Huehuetl was used during festivals such as warrior gatherings. The drum is made from hollowed tree trunks and came in different sizes. Carvings of animals, faces, or warriors were often carved into the base of the drum. The skin used was mainly from ocelots. They were used in battle. In the sad night where the Aztecs defeated Hernán Cortés in a battle, they used huehuetls placed on the ground to transmit the instrument's vibrations through the ground to intimidate the Spanish soldiers. This ended in a massacre for the Spanish army and the fleet to Tlaxcala. Among other common instruments used by Aztecs, we can find the Tlapitzo, a seashell used as a horn associated with the god Tlaloc. Some archaic animal-shaped whistles, ocarinas, such as the Tlapizcale, with pentaphonic scales, whistling jars, and water, and bone scrapers. Artistic education was imparted in several types of schools, such as the Calmecac, a school for noble men where they learned astronomy, religion, sciences, philosophy, and music. Cuicacale, which was a musical and religious school together with the Mixoacale, House of the Clouded Snake, also a school for chants and dances. And some important pre-Hispanic musicians were Tecayuatse, Napuktan, Mayan priests mentioned in the sacred book Chilam Balam, Tecuanitzin, and Tlacuepan, and undoubtedly the best-known composer, Nezahualcóyotl, king of Texcoco. It is said that he wrote more than 70 songs. The purposes of music in the Aztec culture were for historical communication, delivering information, and for creating a national identity. The repertoire for these purposes were devoted to chants, established calendarized chants, and new chants for historic and military feats, as well as for religious rites and feasts. In conclusion, the Aztecs, as any other pre-Hispanic cultures in what is today's modern Mexico, were quite rich in traditions, architecture, poetry, salubrity, warfare, and gave music a very important place in their education and religion, as well as a way of life. Ironically, Mexican music has more in common with European styles, such as the waltz, the polka, and the Polish mazurkas, or composers such as Beethoven or Chopin. Nevertheless, Mexicans have combined European influences with their prehistoric roots to create an even more rich and beautiful culture, worth to know and admire. You can find links to more pre-Hispanic music and sources on the description below.
Hey, thanks for watching. Want to see more videos like this one? Subscribe to Untitled Chapter and share with your friends.